Innovation laziness must be avoided at any cost. What does that mean? It means, oh, what parents? I just want to live my life. I just want, so now just create contrast of ideas to see and think like rich, wise people, what they teach their kids to create solutions for. Today I'm going to talk about 5 lessons that rich people teach their kids as they are growing up. If you listen to this till the end of this video, you will know exactly how to think, how not to think, who to borrow thoughts from, who not to borrow thoughts from. Let's get started with number 1. You are paying a price for your rendered thoughts. Rendered thoughts. It's an idea that I wanted to bring forward to the common group of people, is that you are renting thoughts from people. You're not living in your own thoughts. You're not living in your own house. Imagine you don't have a house and you're renting a house. You're renting an apartment. You're renting a flat. And what is happening? You're paying the landlord a price for that, right? You're paying a price for that. And if you're paying that price for it in thoughts, if you're borrowing thoughts from your cousins, from your uncle, from your teachers, from your culture, there's a price for it. It might be a good price. It might be a bad price, but there is a cost to it. There is a price to it. This is what rich people teach their kids. So if you want to grow to the next level, you can rent thoughts. I'll talk about rental thoughts in a second. But before that, you need to understand that there is a cost to it. This is a fundamental thing that rich people teach their kids. So second thing that rich people teach their kid is innovation laziness must be avoided at any cost. What does that mean? It means that we don't want to think. We just want to follow a leader. We don't want to think originally. We just want to follow a cult leader. We are always looking for cult leaders, generally speaking, like the charismatic person who could lead us to that place, right? And that is not what I'm interested in doing. I'm interested in doing is I want to be my own person. I want you to be your own person, where you have your own original thinking, you have original capacity to think, and you're using that thinking to grow to the next level. Rich people teach that to their kids so that they could be original. They could be original for who they are, so that they can innovate. They don't need to be lazy about innovation. They could be excited about innovation. The third thing that rich people teach their kid is choose their thought landlords. So thought landlords, going back to the similar idea from the first point, which is thought landlords are the people who you borrow thinking from. So what are the books that your kids are reading? What are the books that you are reading? What are the books that you are renting thoughts from? So books are not books anymore. Books are rental thought machines. These are a bunch of paper that will let you rent thoughts from people. But the beautiful thing about renting thoughts is, if you rent that thought for some time, in US there is a concept called lease to own. You lease a house for some time, and after some time that house becomes your house. Same way, rented thoughts are like, after some time you rent the thoughts for some time, you own the thought. This is good and bad, because if you're renting the wrong thought from the wrong person, that becomes your thought too. And I'm sure you have thoughts. I have thoughts that are rented, that are not from the people that I want to be borrowing those or renting those thoughts from. But for the right books, if you read, you are getting a question from them. You are getting a thinking pattern from them. You're getting a vocabulary from them. So when you're getting that vocabulary, when you're getting that thinking pattern, when you get that question, you're actually using books and greatest thinkers of all time as your landlords. Rich people really know this. That's why they select the books that their kids need to be reading. So if you want to be rich, you also decide what are the books that you're reading. And if you're not reading books, you don't want to read books, listen audiobooks, Audible, Blinkist, or YouTube videos. Somehow figure out a way to borrow thoughts from, rent thoughts from great thinkers, not from everybody that you meet in the street. Okay, next one is the parenting trap. The parenting trap is, the rich people, they understand that in order for their kids to flourish and grow to the next level, they need to integrate their thinking into a different dimension. And I'm going to share that with you. So if you look at the traditional regular world, humans have a lot of confusion with their parents. right? Typically, they have confusion with their parents, generally speaking, right? Some people are like so much in love with their parents, and that's perfectly fine. And if you are one of those lucky people who are perfectly in alignment with your parent, if you're one of those lucky people who's completely in alignment with your parent and you love your dad, love your mom, what happens is you become like them. You become like them, which has its own benefit and disadvantages. So you will match their behavior, you will match their thinking, you will match their belief. So in their mind they were poor, you will be poor too. In their mind they have scarcity, you will have scarcity too. In their mind they have beliefs that limited them, you will have that too, because you're matching them. So the second option is you have some confusion with your parent. You're like, oh my gosh, my parents are like, my gosh, I can't even talk about them. Oh my gosh, I cannot even tell you how horrible my child. If that's the case, you are a mismatcher. Sure, you're mismatching with your parent. You're trying to find a contrast of your parent and trying to do opposite of what they did. What you will be doing exactly opposite of what you're doing. But whether you know it or not, you're doing the exact opposite, which means you are actually following them. So which means you are not free from them. You're always doing the opposite. Your inability to do a third option is activated. Why? Because you could either do what they're doing, what they did, or you could do the opposite. There is no third alternative. Even if you think that you're doing the third alternative, it's highly likely you might not be. The third option is indifferent. It's like, I'm detached. I'm like, oh, what parents? I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to talk about them. Do you see that? So that's the indifference path. If you took the indifference path, with the challenges that you're not matching with them, you're not mismatching with them, you're ignoring the situation, you're not dealing with it. You're like, oh, what parents? I just want to live my life. I just want, so now it's not resolved in you, because your parents, whether you like it or not, have a major influence in you, right? So because they have a major influence in you, not as the Freudian type traditional psychology level, but think about it this way. This is a machine that you were in proximity for 20, 30 years. Okay, this is a machine that was spreading its wisdom, its shadow on you. So imagine you're standing next to an electromagnetic radiating machine, and that machine has a shadow too. So it's casting a shadow, and you're standing under this machine. You're standing under this machine or beside this machine, and there is electromagnetic radiation coming to your body. Good or bad, doesn't matter. And there is a shadow coming to you too. So there is an influence of this machine. And if you stayed next to this machine for a long time, you become very similar to this machine, whether you like it or not. You understand what I mean? So, and because of your proximity with this machine, called collectively parents, your dad, mom, whoever your caretaker was, your influence of acting inconsistent with them is very high, right? So just by ignoring, you cannot pretend to be, I'm not like my parent. I'm like my dad. I'm not like my dad. I don't care about my parents. Either way, you are trapped into the same reality. Rich people, what they figure out, the wise rich people, they have figured out to teach them how to integrate the wisdom of the generation. What does that mean? What it means is there is wisdom from generation to generation. Your great granddad to great grandmom, and from there is wisdom coming in. There is a series of wisdom that is coming through your family tree to your parents, to you. So all you need to do is you need to, rather than disagreeing or agreeing with your parents or being indifferent to them and not talking to them, integrate the wisdom that is coming from the family tree through your system, through your mind, so that you could move forward and grow to the next level. That's when you truly become free. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do therapy and other stuff. This is not about any of that. You should do all those. But at the same time, if you want to really grow your business, if you want to really be rich, break out of this pattern that are limiting you through this fight and flight and freeze, which is match and mismatch and indifferent. The translation, the psychological translation of the physical fight is match, mismatch, and indifferent. So it's very similar to the physical fight in the traditional world, in the animal kingdom. Like you see a lion, you're like, okay, I can fight, okay, I could flight, or I could freeze. So the freeze is indifference. Okay, the fight is like you're fighting, you're mismatching. Okay, so the flight is like you're going in alignment with your parents, right? So the rich people really understood that if you really need to go to the next level, you need to learn to integrate the wisdom of the universe. The wisdom of the universe is in your family tree so that you could move to the next level by being in alignment and integrating the knowledge from the family. And moving on to the final point, which is contrast, which is the breeding ground for innovation. So contrast is rich people figure out whatever that made them successful, it's not going to get their children to be successful. One more time, whatever that made them successful, it's not going to help them succeed in their business, right? So they have to bring in their own uniqueness into it. So rather than like being copycats for the parents, they will let them be original and create and think and imagine. So contrast is imagining, placing things differently, Can you imagine a sun as in the sun that in the sky? Can you imagine a sun being an octagon? I mean, when you look at sun, it's like always a circle, right? Imagine that is an octagon. It feels different, doesn't it? And what if it's a blue octagon? It's a different feeling, right? And what if you could see moon as a, let's say, triangle, right? And all of a sudden, it's a different perspective, right? You're seeing it in a different contrast. So if you need to truly grow your business to the next level, if you want to be like those rich, lucky kids who got exposure to those rich parents who are wise, I'm not saying you need to be rich in order to be wise, but rich and wise parents, then they were able to figure out that they could think outside of the box. They could see a moon as a triangle. If you see moon as a triangle, it's a different feeling. It's a different thing. Like, what if there is a square banana? Like, if you take a banana, if it is square, and then there is one, whatever, there are two edges, and imagine it's a square banana or a rectangular banana, or a rectangular apple, how will it be different? So I would like you to imagine, place, misplace, adjust, create contrast of ideas to see and think like rich, wise people, what they teach their kids, to create solutions for your customers. So you need to come up with solutions that are outside of the box. Thinking about moon as a triangle moon, that doesn't make sense initially. But if you start thinking in those terms, coming up with original ideas, to think about and create contrast in your imagination, to find solutions for your customer problem, especially when you're obsessing with them, then you learn what rich people taught their kids, which is create contrast to create creativity and coming up with value-based solutions for our customers. So those are the 5 things. I know this was a lot of stuff. One is, there's a price for your rendered thoughts. Second thing is get out of innovation laziness, being able to be open to thinking. Third is choose your thought landlords through the books that you want to be reading, right? Decide through movies, books, everything, whatever you input as thought landlords, whoever's thought you are rendering, make sure that they are authentic, they are original, they have that capacity to lead you. Otherwise, you are rendering this place which is not safe for you, which is not intelligent for you, and you could be stuck in certain areas of your life. And then match, fight instead of matching, instead of fighting, instead of being indifferent. Learn to integrate the wisdom of the family tree, and which is a broader concept that if you want me to talk more about it, let me know. I'll be happy to talk about it. And finally, contrast is the breeding ground of innovation. So if you want to be original, they don't think and teach them how to be a really good employee so that you could be successful. They're teaching them how to create value. Rich people teach their kids how to create value. So what is one thing that you could learn from this rich wise parents? Like I said, all rich people are not wise, but rich, wise parents, so that you could move your business to the next level, so that you could scale your business, double your cash flow, and maximize your profit starting today.